guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Kyian and you are watching Kyian by Design. And today I'm very excited because I'm doing my very first thrift flip video. So if you guys saw my last video, you know that I went on a bit of a thrifting trip for some new fall decor. But while I was looking for those pieces, I was also looking for some pieces to upcycle. And today I'm going to be taking a few of those finds and turning them into something completely new, including one in particular that you guys voted for. So before we get into the thrift flips, I still have not gotten any better at saying that since the last video. So before we get into the thrift flips, we are so close to hitting 400 subscribers. So if you're watching this video and you are not already subscribed, please go hit the red button down below and ring that notification bell. This will make sure that you never miss a video that I post and get us one step closer to that 400 subscriber milestone. But enough of me rambling, let's get to what you guys really came here for. It is time for the thrift flips. Now you might remember this interesting looking stump piece that I found in my thrift haul. I picked it up even though I had no idea what I was going to do with it, so I asked you guys to leave comments on what you think I should turn it into, and Swan Creates here on YouTube actually suggested that I turn it into a jewelry holder. Thank you so much for your comment, Swan Creates. I also thought that this would make an interesting looking jewelry holder, so let's see how it came out. To turn this piece into a jewelry holder, I am simply going to be taking one of these bamboo skewers, measuring it up against the piece to find a length that I like, and cutting it down to size. I will then cut down a second bamboo skewer to the same size. Now, figuring out a placement for them, I decided that I wanted to stagger the two pieces so that any hanging jewelry wouldn't get tangled. But the color of these bamboo skewers is obviously a different type of wood, so I'm going to mix up a few different colors of paint, starting with a gray and a warm toned brown, adding in some white to lighten it up a bit, and adding in some mustard yellow to bring back the warmth of that wood. Then I just watered my paint mixture down slightly to use it as sort of a stain on the bamboo skewers. I took a paper towel and dipped it into the paint and lightly rubbed it all the way on the skewer to make sure that I covered it completely, and I repeated this for both skewers. After the stain was completely dry, I laid my piece down on its side and matched up the skewers with where I wanted them to be before drilling a hole the same size as the skewer. I then flipped the piece over and repeated the process for the staggered piece in the back and slid the skewers into place to make sure that they fit. Now, to make sure that the skewers stay in place, I'm going to be injecting some wood glue into the holes before running the skewer back through. Then I'm just going to adjust the skewers to make sure that they are in their final placement before the wood glue dries. The piece should look something like this, and once the glue was completely cured, I just displayed some jewelry on it, and I had a woodsy and whimsical jewelry holder. For my second piece, I'm going to be making over this Valentine's Day themed tic-tac-toe board. I want to elevate it and make it a little more refined. And funny enough, while I was on that thrift trip, I saw a different tic-tac-toe board that inspired me to make this one. It was a dark brown game board with gold pieces, which is exactly what I'm going for. It was a lot bigger and a lot more expensive than mine, so I decided to take inspiration from that tic-tac-toe board and use it to create my own. So let's find out how I did. To begin transforming this tic-tac-toe board, I'm going to start by removing all of the pieces from the board. The board was starting to separate from the bottom at one of its corners, so I just reattached it with some wood glue and stapled it back into place. Now, I thought I was going to have an easier time taking the shapes off of these game pieces, but to be honest, it was really difficult and the pieces kept breaking. So I scraped off as much of the hearts as I could with my spatula, but with some patience and my palm sander, I was able to completely take the hearts off of these pieces. I plan to replace them with actual O's, so taking my 2.5 and my 1.25 inch hole saw drill bits and cutting myself some custom O's out of some scrap wood that I had. Now, to prep these for painting, I actually kept the X's on the game pieces and I taped off all the wood around them and took them outside and sprayed them all with an even coat of gold spray paint. Once the spray paint was dry, I brought my pieces back inside and I taped off the X's like this, and then taking my wood stain in red oak, I'm going to be going all around my pieces and giving them an even coat of the stain. While the pieces are drying, I'm going to take my wood stain and apply it to the game board itself, making sure to coat all the sides as well as the insides of each square. Set aside the game board to dry and went back to my pieces. I'm going to be taking my gold O pieces and using some wood glue to apply them to the blank pieces that I removed the hearts from, making sure that the wood glue completely cures. I'm then going to pop all of my pieces back into my game board, and now I have a completely elevated and refined tabletop tic-tac-toe board. And last but not least, this very last thrift flip is a double whammy because I am doing a thrift flip as well as a high-end dupe. In my thrift haul, I found this large glass vase that I had been looking for specifically for a project like this one, because for this last thrift flip, I'm going to be recreating these mid-century lanterns from West Elm. I love the shape, I love the function, they are just my style, but I've not been able to really justify buying one for myself, so I went ahead and made one of my own. Let's see the results. For this thrifted West Elm dupe, I started by creating a paper stencil based on the measurements of the vase that I picked up, tracing that stencil onto my scrap wood and cutting it out with my saw. Using my trusty paper templates, I simply folded them in half to locate the center point of each piece, and marking these center points to know where to create the notch where the two pieces will interlock. Then taking my measuring tape, I'm going to mark the halfway point up this center line. I'll then be taking my saw and creating notches on both pieces, only up to that halfway mark. For the larger piece, I sawed to the halfway mark from the bottom, and for the smaller piece, I'll be sawing from the top. I tested the pieces to make sure they fit together before moving on to the next step, which was sanding. I sanded down the surface to get it nice and smooth and remove any of those splinters, but I also decided to sand along the edges of my piece to give them sort of a rounded edge like the original lanterns have. Then I'm going to take my wood stain in red oak and completely coat both pieces in the stain. I made sure to get everywhere there was exposed wood, including along the edges and inside the notch. With the pieces completely coated in the stain, it was time to attach them together, so I am applying some wood glue to the inside notch, slotting the two pieces together, wiping away any excess wood glue, and leaving to dry. With the frame of my lantern complete, all I had to do was pop the vase inside, and I had my very own West Elm style mid-century lantern. You guys will have to let me know down in the comments which of these three thrift flips was your favorite. I'm personally torn between the Tic Tac Toe board and the West Elm lantern. They're both pieces that I've wanted in my home for a while, but that I couldn't quite bring myself to cough up the money for. But what do you guys think? I really want to know. Tell me in the comments down below. But that completes my very first thrift flip video. If you guys enjoyed it and you want to see more thrift flips, definitely give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget, we are so close to 400 subscribers, so if you have not already, go click the red subscribe button down below and ring the notification bell so you never miss a post. Don't forget to also follow me on all of my social media. I will put the links down in the description. But that about does it for today. This has been Kyian by Design, and I'll see you next time. Bye!